So, Heisenberg. Tell us this one simple thing. Why didn't you do the calculation?
The question is, why Frisch and Piles did do it. It was a stupid waste of time. However much 235 it turned out to be, it was obviously going to be more than anyone could imagine producing.
Except that it wasn't.
Except that it wasn't.
So why?
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it. Because I never thought of it. Because it didn't occur to me. Because I assumed it wasn't worth doing.
Assume? Assume? You never assume things. That's how you got uncertainty, because you rejected our assumptions. You calculated Heisenberg. You calculated everything. The first thing you did with a problem was the mathematics.
You should have been there to slow me down.
Yes, you wouldn't have got away with it if I'd been standing over you.
Though in fact, you made exactly the same assumption. You thought there was no danger for exactly the same reason as I did. Why didn't you calculate it?
Why didn't I calculate it?
Tell us why you didn't calculate it, and we'll know why I didn't.
It's obvious why I didn't.
Go on.
Because he wasn't trying to build a bomb.
Yes, thank you. Because he wasn't trying to build a bomb. I imagine it was the same with me. Because I wasn't trying to build a bomb. Thank you.
So, you bluffed yourself. The way I did at poker with the straight I never have. But in that case,
why did I come to Copenhagen? Yes, why did I come?
one more draft. Yes? One final draft.
And once again, I crunch over the familiar gravel to the ball's front door and tug at the familiar well. Why have I come? I know perfectly well, know so well that I've no need to ask myself. Until, once again, the heavy front door opens.
He stands on the doorstep, blinking in the sudden flood of light from the house. Until this instant, his thoughts have been everywhere and nowhere. Like unobserved particles, through all the slits in the diffraction grating simultaneously. Now they have to be observed and specified.
And at once, the clear purposes inside my head lose all definite shape. The light falls on them, and they scatter. How difficult it is to see even what's in front of one's eyes. All we possess is the present, and the present endlessly dissolves into the past. Bohr has gone, even as I turn to see Margrethe.
Niels is right. You look older.
I believe you had some personal trouble.
Margrethe slips into history even as I turn back to Bohr. And yet, how much more difficult still it is to catch the slightest glimpse of what's behind one's eyes. Here I am at the center of the universe, and yet all I can see are two smiles that don't belong to me.
How is Elizabeth? How are the children?
Very well, they send their love. I can feel a third smile in the room, very close to me. Could it be the one I suddenly see for a moment in the mirror there? And is the awkward stranger wearing it in any way connected with this presence that I can feel in the room? This all-enveloping, unobserved presence?
I watch the two smiles in the room.
one awkward and ingratiating, the other rapidly fading from incautious warmth to bare politeness. There's also a third smile in the room, I know, unchangingly courteous, I hope, and unchangingly guarded.
You've managed to get some skiing?
I glance at Margrethe, and for a moment I see what she can see, and I can't. Myself, and the smile vanishing from my face as poor Heisenberg blunders on.
I look at the two of them looking at me, and for a moment I see the third person in the room as clearly as I see them, the importunate guest, stumbling from one crass and unwelcome thoughtfulness to the next.
I look at him looking at me, anxiously, pleadingly, urging me back to the old days. And I see what he sees. And yes, now it comes, now it comes. There's someone missing from the room. He sees me. He sees Margrethe. He doesn't see himself.
2,000 million people in the world, and the one who has to decide their fate is the only one who's always hidden from me.
You suggested a stroll.
You remember Elsinore? The darkness inside the human soul.
And out we go, out under the autumn trees, through the blacked out streets.
Now there's no one in the world except Bohr and the invisible other. Who is he, this all-enveloping presence in the darkness?
The flying particle wanders the darkness, no one knows where. It's here, it's there, it's everywhere and nowhere.
With careful casualness, he begins to ask the question he's prepared.
Does one, as a physicist, have the moral right to work on the practical exploitation of atomic energy?
The Great Collision.
I stop. He stops.
This is how they work.
He gazes at me, horrified.
Now at last he knows where he is and what he's doing.
He turns away.
And even as the moment of collision begins, it's over.
Already we are hurrying back towards the house.
Already they're both flying away from each other into the darkness again.
Our conversation's over.
Our great partnership.
All our friendship.
And everything about him becomes as uncertain as it was before.
Unless, yes, a thought experiment. Let's suppose for a moment that I don't go flying off into the night. Let's see what happens if I remember the paternal role I'm supposed to play. If I stop and control my anger and turn to him and ask him, why are you confident?
Why?
It's going to be so reassuringly difficult to build a bomb with 235. Is it because you've done the calculation?
The calculation?
Of the diffusion in 235? No. It's because you haven't calculated it. You haven't considered calculating it. You hadn't consciously realized that there was a calculation to be made.
In fact, it wouldn't be all that difficult. Let's see. The scattering cross-section's about 6 times 10 to the minus 24th. So the mean free path would be, hold on.
And suddenly, a very different and very terrible new world begins to take shape. Simple thing. Why didn't you do the calculation? But in that case,
Yeah. Let's see. The scattering cross-section is about 6 times minus 10 to the
今までの原発核関連の
一応取ったっすか
Now they have to be specified.